Welcome to Geordie Lass Doc Sass. One day, a Geordie and a Canadian walk into a bar and decide to start a podcast about relationships, and what a topic that is. No subjects are off limits. Get in touch today with us at geordielass.com or email info@geordielass.com and let us know what you think and what we should talk about. Welcome to the podcast.
Good evening. Hey there, Miss Fellow Girl in the Dark.
I know, it's bloody pitch black here. Do you know, I've realised where I live. Well, I haven't just realised this. Obviously, I've known it for a while. My new place of residence, we literally have no streetlights whatsoever at all.
Oh.
And where I used to live, in that parish, because we have, the island is split up into parishes, they used to have streetlights. And it's so freaking dark right now.
Oh my gosh. Is it like different parts of the island have different funding? Like how is that?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. So they have their own, each parish sets its own rates. And so they collect rates for their parish and then they use that as...
Oh, you mean the taxes are different?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So one parish is like, yeah, street lights, that's a luxury we can do without. Lower taxes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I'm kind of like semi-countrified where I am.
Oh.
Don't need streetlights, obviously.
Oh, interesting.
Even though we're on a main road. There's a main road just at the end of the drive.
It's kind of creepy.
Weird. Very creepy.
That is so weird.
So yeah, pitch black.
Again, well, and it's funny because again, we are sharing the same time zone because we're like, or more or less, because we're both in Europe. And so usually I would be recording in the middle of the day and you'd be in pitch black, but we're both, and I don't know about you, I've got this scarf on because I'm doing the no central heating situation. So it's about 12 degrees inside. It's probably like 54 degrees Fahrenheit inside this apartment. So it feels like very kind of melancholy, but in a sexy romantic way. I don't know.
Oh,
like they used to do before central heating in the 1800s. Yeah, I'm just feeling it. It's dark and cold. Let that mood. Well, actually, and okay, so because of that, I think I need to ask you for some relationship news, desk news, because I don't only want to hear it, I think I need to hear something good now. A little bit warm and toasty. What do you got?
Well, I've got something that might be right up your street, Miss Anna.
Oh my gosh, again, I love it. Thank you. Okay.
Right, today's relationship news, live from the love desk.
Live.
I'm going to share with you that you can fall in love with 3 people in your lifetime. And each one, you fall in love with them for a specific reason.
Oh my gosh, this is hitting. Okay, go on.
All right. Okay, let us begin. Okay, so your first love. This love often happens at a young age. You eventually grow apart or call it quits over silly things. When you get older, you may look back and think it wasn't really love, but the truth is, it was. And it was love for what you knew love to be. So remember, there are different depths of love. Okay, so that's your first love.
Wow.
Your second love. So the second love, the hard one, you get hurt in this one. This love teaches us lessons and makes us stronger. This love includes great pain, lies, betrayal, abuse, drama, and damage. But this is the one where we grow and we utilise what we have learned about love. Now we know the difference between good love and bad love. Now we become closed, careful, cautious and considerate. We know exactly what we want and what we don't want. So the second love is all about learning. Are you ready for the third and final love of your life?
Yes, please. Yes.
All right. So the third love, this one comes blindly, with no warning, and it creeps upon us silently. You don't go looking for this love, it comes looking for you. You can put up any wall you want, it will be broken down. You'll find yourself caring about the person without trying. They look nothing like your usual crush types, and you look nothing like your usual type. But you get lost in their eyes easily. You can see beauty in their imperfections, and you hide nothing from them. You want marriage and family with them, and you thank the universe for them. You truly love them.
Oh my God. Whoa. That is really hard. Wow. Okay. Yep. I've heard the three loves for sure. Yeah. I think my second has just concluded. So I get that kind of pain. It's hard to imagine the third from where I stand. And so it's very great to hear this. As I say, I'm a relationship coach. I coach folks all the time. When I speak with folks, I totally see it for them. Like the most amazing thing about being a coach is that you see your clients' infinite potential. You are so believing and certain of their wonder and their skill and their tenacity and their ability to create a better day for themselves tomorrow. And they're limitless deserving of everything beautiful. But then when I take my relationship coach hat off and I just sit into good old Anna, that's where all the limiting beliefs come in and gremlin messages and so forth. I'm like, well, not for me. So it's wonderful to hear that there's a pattern of things, and I can see it, because like the growth period, like, and may I just say for any of the audience out there who can relate, is you don't grow in the middle of the second love. You grow when that love is coming to an end and when it has already ended. So the usual thing is you hire a relationship coach or therapist or counselor at the tail end of a relationship when many nails of the most people do. And then you start to actually learn for the first time in that relationship, but it's often too late to apply those learnings to this relationship because, sometimes the nails are already sort of driven in. But those lessons are going to serve you for that next, right? That third. I'm not saying everybody, but I'm just saying a few folks, like myself, sought help too late. Just saying. But not in vain. The learnings are applying for my third love, apparently. Yeah.
Your third love is on its way.
On its way.
I feel like Mystic Meg here with my... does Mystic Meg mean anything to you?
No.
She was like a psychic that was I think she was in one of the daily newspapers.
Oh, okay.
And Mystic Meg, she used to do the kind of horoscopes and tell your future. I feel like I'm reading the tea leaves for you, Anna. Your third love is on its way.
It's on its way. A train somewhere.
I think what's really interesting for me when I read about those third loves, like I can see that in my life in terms of how it's played out. I think there's a couple of things. So one, it represents really your growth as a person, doesn't it? So you can see how over time we kind of mature a bit, we get more self-assured about who we are and what we want, and you can see that journey through the descriptions. So the first one is kind of like, not really bothered. I'm probably just kind of having a bit of fun. I'm just like, I don't really know kind of who I am. I just probably go with the flow a bit. I'm just enjoying things and I almost kind of don't even know when to call it quits. But, the relationship kind of eventually fizzles out for some reason or another. And that might be kind of over a long period of time as well. It might just not be a kind of short-lived thing. The second one is definitely kind of like that rebellious bit, like almost kind of, I'm gonna, we can kind of flip to the opposite of what we had originally. We want something completely different, but that ends up being quite destructive, or we kind of maybe exert ourselves a bit more, and maybe that kind of produces a bit more fire in the relationship. So you can kind of see it. And then I think by the time you get to the third one, like you really do know your shit. Like you know who you are, you know what you want. You're not prepared to put up with any of the nonsense that goes with kind of relationships, all that game playing. And you are just kind of more about like, look, this is who I am. And I know somewhere out there will be somebody who wants this, and because there's a fit kind of for everybody. So you just become a bit more self-assured and more self-confident, and I genuinely believe when it says you're not looking for it, it kind of finds you, and it just kind of works.
Wow. I think what I would like to experience is introducing somebody to my family or to my closest friends, my longest friends, and for them to be like, oh, Anna, this isn't like all the others. Because I look on my past patterns. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's no pattern. I don't have a type. But it's actually my sister she's like, oh, that's totally on brand for your type. You totally have a type. I'm like, no, but he's not the same. No, totally the same as all the others. And generally my type is people who are kind of dismissive and avoidant of my affections. That's where I have felt most comfortable, is pouring a bunch of effort into people who are not into me. So I will very much appreciate my sister in particular being like, oh my gosh, Anna, you finally broke your pattern. This one is different. I think
I
that's
question where the pattern is. Is it with them or is it with you?
Oh, well, the pattern's with me. Hello. Oh, totally. I mean, I discovered this last week. Oh, it took so many years to figure that out. No, it's with me. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh.
That whole thing about kind of, they're different. I think actually the position is you're different. It's not they're different. It's that you're different.
Oh, to be sure. I mean, that I have done my learning to attract a different pattern into my life that's not on brand for my dysfunctional sort of usual self. I don't want to be my usual self in my third relationship.
Yeah. And neither will you be.
Well, the learnings are coming fast and furious. So like, there's no way, we're not standing in the same river that I was even like 2 months ago. I am such a different person. It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. If you want a big growth spurt, everybody, just get divorced.
Well, that brings me on to one of my other points, actually. As I was reading that and listening to it, I was kind of contemplating, well, what would that mean if you were in a long-term relationship and you were still with that person? So, whilst we talk a lot about separation, divorce, relationship challenges, there are many, many people out there that don't actually kind of separate, divorce, they stick with the same relationships. Not to say they don't have challenges, but I could see that same pattern playing out across the same relationship. So where you have that kind of infancy where you're kind of, neither of you are kind of that mature, you then maybe go into that middle ground, which is the more kind of turbulent times where maybe you kind of hurt each other, maybe
there's an affair,
kind of more, maybe you are kind of more offhand with each other, you kind of have less regard for each other, and then actually you move into that final phase, which is do you know what, I don't want this anymore, kind of for us, like, this is me, this is what I want, this is how I want the relationship to be. And if you're moving together in the same relationship and your partner comes at the same conclusion, either at a similar-ish time, it's unlikely you're both going to come to that revelation at the same time, because that's not often how it works. But as long as you arrive at a similar stage at a similar time scale, that is still possible to move through those three types of relationships within the same relationship.
Oh, great point.
So that's another kind of observation.
Great point. I think you're right. And I think the thing that catalyzes transitions between those is disruptive. It is difficult. It's a huge challenge. It looks like something bad happening to the relationship, but that it's actually the change for good. Yes. Yeah. Correct. Yeah. Yeah. You've got it. Oh, wow. Okay. All right.
Okay.
I'll be on the lookout.
Yeah. Anna's looking for number 3. If anybody's out there. She's looking for her third and final number.
I know, exactly. Before kicking the bucket, everybody, we should have a raffle.
The good news is, though, you're only kind of halfway through your life, right?
I don't know. You never know how much time you got on the clock, though.
Yeah, but on average, you're halfway through.
Yeah.
Which means find them quick. Second half of your life. Bloody wonderful.
I know, but to be honest, I'm kind of living as if I only have 5 years left. Yeah, that's a conversation for another day. Now that we're recording in the dark, I get to bring my existential self out. I'm like, I do think about death a lot. You're happier if you do. But yes, okay, we'll split the difference and say I might have 10 years.
All right,
but I'll act as if I have 5. Which means living every day.
Let's park it on that for now, because I feel like that's a conversation for a way another podcast.
Way different podcast.
I feel like we need to wait until February till I'm back on drinking. It's
so true. Oh my God, you're like, please don't be cruel and make me have this conversation sober.
I need a glass of wine for this, Anna.
I know. All right, February it is.
All right, okay, we've got a couple of weeks to go.
You got it.
Alrighty, shall we do a hot topic?
Oh yeah, let's go.
Today's hot topic. Do you make time for hopes, dreams, fun, and play?
Well, that's a lot of extraneous things that is hard to fit into, like workaholism and the,
Well, Anna certainly can't fit it in because she's too busy worrying about death.
Oh my gosh, that's very true. It does take time. It does occupy my brain power.
Sure does.
Oh my gosh, what a shopping list of amazing things.
Yeah.
Can you repeat those one more time? Because I feel like it needs to hit.
Yes. Do you make time for hopes, dreams, fun, and play?
Oh, gosh, this is fantastic. I mean, the short answer is no, but...
Well, yeah, probably.
Go on.
And I mean, and it's a shit time of year, right? Like, everyone's just trying to make it through the day. It's still quite dark. Like, I mean, I'm praying for daylight to come, but I genuinely feel like there's a blanket of blackness outside my window right now.
Yeah.
So, we feel like those late nights are kind of far away and the days still feel short. We still feel like we're kind of getting over Christmas. Everybody feels like January lasts twice as long as it should do. So, we've got these things that are kind of there, which means, thinking about kind of the future or thinking about how can inject more funds, just like, a lot of people haven't got the energy. I think there's been some issues with Mercury and retrograde, if you're into kind of stars and planets, that have again been kind of weighing this heavy energy on all of us.
Oh, no wonder. Okay.
Yeah. Explains a lot, right?
Oh my God. I've got like 10 Word documents of unfinished business just sitting on my laptop. And I'm like, God, why do I feel so heavy? Okay. Thank you. Explained.
Yeah, that would be why. But I think if we break this down, really, this is kind of, for all there's 4 things there, it's actually kind of 2 segments, isn't it? Hopes and dreams, that's like the future. So like, what time do we make in our relationship to dedicate to kind of future dreaming, future kind of aspirations, things to look forward to? And what part do we dedicate to kind of fun and play? And I kind of see that as being kind of, the here and the now, like how are we kind of still injecting fun into kind of everything that we do? So I was listening to something a while ago and it was about this hope and this aspiration and kind of how do we stay motivated in life. And a lot of it is down to the fact that we have things to look forward to and we can see some sort of future. And I see that in lots of different areas of my life where you kind of, and also like fun is one of my major strong values. So if I feel like there isn't that kind of hope or future or the something to look forward to, which kind of links with the fun and the playful aspect of life, it's kind of like, what's the point? So if you feel like that about your relationship, what's the point? And, don't get us wrong, many of us feel like that on multiple different occasions. But if that's your overriding thought, that's quite tricky to have a relationship under those circumstances, right?
Oh, yeah. And you've taught me a lot of having fun as a value, and that's something that is a value of yours. I don't think that a lot of us...
the word makes me smile.
Oh, you're so cute.
Like, oh yeah, like a little child.
Oh. And that's, look, I don't know if others feel like this, but like fun is not something that's important to me because I couldn't wait to grow up because I didn't like being stuck as a kid. And so fun for me is going backwards. It's regressing. And so I know that it's something that I really want to build because I tend to be very dour and like drag things into the serious all the time. And you're right. And not live for the present in a relationship. I tend to value the serious because that's where I was always trying to get to in life. But there's always a time to realize you're not running from anything anymore. Like that monster that you were trying to run from is no longer there. You're just now running from a ghost. So I think I can start to kind of stop, turn around, and actually start to value fun. But it's a learning. I don't know about everybody out there listening, but like to learn how to have fun and not take oneself so seriously is hard. It's a process.
It is. It is.
Did you have to learn how to incorporate fun or was it always with you?
No, I don't think it was. Like I was quite, probably quite a miserable child actually. And I don't remember. I think fun was always a value, but I don't think I realised that it was a value and therefore it was probably regularly being trampled all over and I regularly felt in conflict and kind of just like a bit of angst and so I wouldn't have known at that point because I came to values quite late in life, kind of what was going on or kind of what was missing out. One thing I do always know is that feeling that you get when you've had fun, like how brilliant it feels. When you've had like those nights out or those moments where you just kind of stepped away from a conversation, a situation, a night out, an event, whatever it was. And actually, it might not always be with other people. It might just be something that you've experienced yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But when you step away from that and you go, God, I really enjoyed that. And that kind of sense of fulfillment, that sense of happiness, that inner smile and outer smile that comes as a result of that. Like, that's amazing, right? And we get to create that anytime we want, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. It's true. Letting go of this seriousness is like number one. Letting go. Leaning in by letting go is the...
And as I've got older, I've kind of noticed that comes more and more into place. So kind of in any work situations, like fun will have to come out. It cannot be too serious for too long. Like otherwise it's like a little genie in the bottle. It just escapes and kind of spreads the fun amongst everybody. But it's the same if I'm coaching. I always inject a bit of fun into a coaching session. Always.
Wow.
And you can see clients respond to that. You know, it can lift the mood in some of the kind of darkest times. And obviously it has to be kind of well placed. I'm not, you know, unsympathetic to kind of where people are. So there is always a time and a place, you know. Maybe in the middle of a funeral service, although even then, you know, I would want...
There's some people...
If it was mine, I'd want people to be having fun there.
I agree. There's a lot of people who are like, don't cry for me, celebrate for me, and
exactly
make a funeral an irreverent experience. There's many people who beyond the grave would be smiling to know that people were making fun and celebrating. Yeah,
absolutely.
That's so true.
So I think there is this need to have this in a relationship, and I think there's a need to keep some of those lights alive and really like look to the future as well, to have that kind of have those hopes, have those dreams, have something that you've got to look forward to, because they're the things that motivate us.
And that's where, because we're just coming around the new year, and that's where I've actually learned from a lot of my clients. A lot of my clients kind of have this pattern already. Funny enough, they're not the clients I'm coaching for relationship. I'm coaching them for career. But I get to inquire about their relationships. And it's really interesting to realize where some people have just natural strengths and they're just kind of killing it and they're really, really strong. And the strongest couples or the strongest people are where they naturally have like a goal setting session at the start of every year. And I heard from one client, like, we've actually already sat down and what are our goals for this year and what are our longer term hopes and dreams. It's really cool to see. And it's essential. You have to make it explicit. You don't just sort of leave it to chance that it'll happen.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, God, I can speak from experience there, right? So in relationships where you just think, oh yeah, that'll naturally work out.
Organic.
We'll naturally come to a conclusion about how we want to spend our free time together.
My God.
What a load of bollocks that is.
Bollocks,
and
indeed.
It doesn't happen, right? So we need to kind of be saying, like, you know, as you say at the start of the year, right? You know, if holidays are something that's key for you, or you know, spending vacation time together, whether you go away, don't go away, kind of, you know, how can you be quite explicit about what that would look like and what would kind of make you both happy in that situation? If it is going away, then okay, well, how do we plan for that? How do we kind of maximize that time? How do we maximize the money that we've got? Like, it sounds really kind of sad, but actually they're the things that can help us to get the most out of life and to enjoy that kind of year ahead together and to have something to look forward to.
Oh, that's so actually interesting because I actually value adventure, like for me, adventure. But the thing is, I realize that I need to let go of my sense of adventure to let more fun in. Because actually, adventure, I set up my life without responsibilities. So I have maximum flexibility, but that keeps me out of connection. So I can maximize my adventure. So a forward step for me would be to turn the dial down on adventure, which means reducing the independence, increasing connection, increasing interdependence, healthy interdependence, where I may not take as many like last minute trips as I am able to take right now, but I can actually forward plan some fun with a person or with people or which in some ways I might think, gosh, that's regressing, because I used to be able to like hop a plane whenever I wanted to because I depended on nobody. I needed nobody. But for fun, I think that's something where I'm going to see like scheduling is sexy. dreaming about something we're going to do in a year and a half is super sexy. So it's rebranding those associations and seeing that, you know, and of course, not to say I can't have spontaneous stuff too, but yeah.
Yeah. But this is where you've got kind of different values that come into play. So, you know, how much to value connection. And when you say adventure, actually what I hear is freedom.
That's a thing. Yeah, but the problem is that takes me out of connection because it's hyper freedom. It's reliant on nobody. Like man is an island. That's where I'm at. And that's but I desperately want connection. But I want to stay on my island as well, and I can't do both.
Yeah. They're not.
Sara, I wish I could have both, an island as well as a commune.
The truth is, though, you probably don't want both.
Oh, it's true. I know it's true. It's true. I don't. What I really want is a commune. I want community. And it means I have to give up on independence.
Yeah.
And relinquish myself to not just hopes and dreams by myself and not seeing other people as these inconvenient impediments to my dreams, but actually seeing myself creating even better dreams in community with other people. Oof. Yeah.
Welcome to Anna's therapy session.
I was gonna say, have we started the clock?
Did we hit record?
I know. I can't help it, man. Just going through this. It's like a live wire. I'm like, what is recording a podcast and what is my own therapy? It's a blurry line, everyone.
It sure is. It sure is.
Yeah.
Have you seen the film about a boy with Hugh Grant?
I did a long time back though. I can't remember it.
Rewatch it.
Oh, okay.
It's part of your education and training.
Well, I do like myself a lot of Hugh Grant. I cannot miss anything he's in, so I should probably. Okay.
There you go. Rewatch it.
Okay. Yes, Sara. Yes, Coach Sara.
That's your homework for the week. I like to set my coaching clients some homework. That's yours.
Wonderful. Okay, that sounds fantastic. I'm in. Having to watch Hugh Grant, like this is not a hardship.
It's not indeed.
Yeah, one of my favorites.
All right. Nice. So we are scheduling hopes, dreams, fun and play this year.
Indeed.
Get it on the agenda.
You've got it.
Yeah.
I think I can do it.
Okay. Shall we move to a question?
Yes, let's go.
Today's question. My husband's father has been sleeping on our couch for 3 years! ! He doesn't wake up until 3 p.m. And when he does wake up, he smokes in the kitchen. Even though he's got the door open, it still stinks. My husband is refusing to do anything about it. I can't take any more.
Oh my gosh. So what do you think is wrong with this situation? Oh my gosh, the planets are in retrograde. I'm like, this is really smart. I'm sorry. Sometimes, I would never do this. I would never have a reaction like this in a coaching session. My brain is always like in a really different spot. But here is like, there's this sense of like, whoa, where do we start? Right?
Yeah.
What a situation. And I should say too, like, I am just going to comment that the person who's writing about this, like you can tell that there's been a number of boundary violations that have happened slowly and steadily over years. Little allowances past boundaries to where you come to a situation where jaws drop.
Yeah.
Like, how on earth did you get here, right? Well, one small boundary violation at a time.
Yeah. Well, you can imagine the start of this, 3 years ago. It was like, my dad's fallen on hard times. He just needs a place to stay for a few nights. And, it's my dad. We've got to help him out. Can't really turn family away. Like, you can see how it starts, right? Or, it might not be my dad. It might be my sister. It might be my best friend. It might be anybody, And then 3 years later, still kipping on the couch, doing things that you wouldn't do in your house, but he seems to get away with it because he's the dad. Yeah. You can see the husband, by the sounds of it, isn't really, getting to grips with this or doing anything about it. So, often with parents, we regress really quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Move back to kind of that child-parent behaviour. So we start to behave like kids again, even though we are grown-ups and we've got our own kids and we've got a house and a mortgage and a job and, dog and all those other responsibilities, yet we still kind of shrink back to that kind of child. And, maybe there were some things in the past in that relationship where you couldn't stand up to his dad. He couldn't say what was on his mind, just had to kind of follow suit, be told what to do, was marginalised. Maybe all of that is kind of coming out to play. So you've got that bit. You've then got kind of, well, actually, this is my house as well. So like you might be behaving kind of as you did as a child, but it's not my dad, and I'm being subjected to this, if there were other family members, like not only that, like you've lost your living room, right? If somebody's keeping on the couch till 3:00, I mean, I can well believe it. My kids can stay in bed till 3:00 in the afternoon. But, if that's your couch, your main kind of family space, your kind of, your chill time, your chill zone, and somebody's in there like all day and then doing things at home that you wouldn't do. Like, if you would never smoke inside your own premises and then somebody else is and thinks it's okay because the door's open, it's still going to have an impact, isn't it? So this is just kind of boundaries through and through, isn't it? So there's no boundaries, there's no accountability, there's no agreement about kind of what's going to happen. There's no exit plan being arranged here at all. There's just an acceptance that we're in a crap situation and we're going to stay with it because actually we don't want to face up to dealing with it, or we don't know how to, or we've got this real strong sense of obligation, which means that we can't.
Well, and there's also the moving goalpost thing. And I coach a lot of folks who, if you were to have told this person, this writer, that 3 years later, this is what this would look like, they'd be like, no effing way. But the thing is, there's always this hope around every corner. Oh, just another month. His luck has turned. He said that the sister's now going to take him in. And what happens is, like, if we don't watch ourselves and put some mile markers in the ground, we end up waking up years later when we would never have permitted this if we had had some sort of ad hoc planning. So when I come mid-story to this situation with a client where there's a lot of boundary violations, there's this status quo, they feel like they're kind of dug in where they can't say anything anymore, we dig ourselves out with 1 mile marker at a time, which is, okay, what needs to happen by next month to give you the sense that something is ever going to change, right? And what needs to happen how many months will you give it for this particular, so no, he's got to get a job. Okay, well, how much time do we give him for that? 3 months. Okay, so by 3 months, if he hasn't got a job, we know this ain't going anywhere and more extreme measures might have to take place. But if you're sticking with the program, this is what progress would look like incrementally. Yeah. And so that's what I find, because, I don't coach folks at the beginning of the situation. I coach them when they're just dead stuck in the quicksand, right in the middle. But there is hope. But, it's funny too, like the person who's writing in, they're much more comfortable writing to writing in for advice than they are speaking up in their own relationship.
Yeah, well, I suppose we don't know what conversations have happened. I kind of get a sense that this isn't a kind of, I've said nothing and I'm now kind of writing to you. I kind of think there's been some conversations, but there's no action.
And that's the thing. So maybe direct conversations, maybe sarcasm, maybe passive aggressiveness, but not action, not boundary setting and sticking to the boundaries. We know that for sure. Sure.
I think there's two things here. One is you say, kind of, where does it want to get to? What's the time scale? Like, I would always start at the end and then kind of work backwards. Like, okay, what needs to be put in place then for that to happen? What needs to happen before that? What, kind of start to work back to come up with a plan. But the other thing is, what is within your gift? Where are your limits? And what needs to happen in order for you not to reach some of those limits? And then also kind of, if you do get there, like, what are you going to do about it? What is your plan? So I think there's a kind of, what can we work on together as a family? But also, I think there is a kind of, what am I prepared to accept and tolerate, and what am I not? Because I don't think that part of it has probably happened. So there's a drifting that's happened that's got you to kind of 3 years and your father-in-law's still on the couch. Yeah. Kip until 3:00 in the afternoon.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. I don't think we've also mentioned just how unhealthy that is for kids to have this sort of situation playing out. Like, it's super important, if you can, for everybody to have their own bedroom and their own private space.
Yeah.
If we haven't mentioned that already, it's important to mention. Yeah.
And that's, that's not always a luxury that everybody's got.
It's true. It's true. I think where there is the luxury, where there could be another way, that's where the dysfunction comes. Because if it's out of necessity, the thing is, if it is out of necessity, and there are people in the world who have to do that, they will often, or at least the ideal sort of scenario is that they still create boundaries even when there are limited resources and a lot of constraints. So unfortunately this father's just running roughshod over this family, essentially.
Absolutely, yeah. Is one of the first steps just to actually reclaim ownership of the lounge, and that might not be all the time, but, how would you get into a kind of, actually between the hours of 10 and, 10 at night or whatever, it's this room is a lounge, where kind of it needs to come back to that function so that we can spend time together as a family. And in order to do that, here are the kind of 3 things that we need to follow as a family, and we will help you to do that. But, we have to kind of get into this sort of routine or rhythm in order to start to function and to have that family time back again.
True.
That could be one of the first steps to starting to put in place some boundaries and allowing people to move towards those boundaries. So it's not about, when we come to boundary setting, it's not about kind of hard and fast yeses and nos. We have to have some sort of flexibility, compassion. We have to understand that change takes time, and we can't just kind of, right, I've made my mind up now. You need to get on the program, otherwise that's it. So there is some kind of, let's not throw compassion and kindness out with this.
But I'll also be compassionate about your lack of compassion, because I realized you finally reached out because you were at the end of your rope. So there's no, there's compassion fatigue. So unfortunately, you kind of have to fake it till you make it with just trying to lump on some compassion when you might not have any. And that's where you reach out to people, friends, you have to rant a bit, etc. So the critical piece here is working as a team. And this is where couples will die on the field, is when the partner is like, that's it, this needs to change. And the child, the husband in this case, is terrified and feels like they can't stand up to their parent.
Yeah.
So how do you work as a team to be able to, so assertiveness, but also kindness and working as a team to be able to help this partner who's terrified to speak to their dad? And this didn't happen yesterday, right?
No, of course it didn't. And I think it's about this comes down to, you are a team. So how do you play to your strengths in that situation? How do I know that I'm going in and I'm doing this and I'm not alone anymore? Because there's that kind of, when we flip back into childhood, we're back to that kind of, it's me against the rest of the world. It's me against my father, my mother, my siblings, kind of whatever it is. We'll go back to that where we feel very much alone. And it's different when you're in a relationship. Your strongest source of support, in most cases, should be your partner. And, and especially in a situation like this, where it's something where you are kind of having to, go in and do a little bit of battle for your own kind of family situation. So it's about saying, and it's also kind of, that is their home. It's not his home. It's, it is their home, and they've invited him into that. So it's about saying, look, I'm here to support you. I want us to tackle this together, and let's work out, our position on that and who's going to do what, and kind of where some of the strengths are in that. So his strength might not be speaking up to his father. She may not have the same emotional attachment. It's not her father.
Yeah.
So she can kind of lead with that, and he can kind of, as long as he's there to back her up, and then doesn't kind of, cave at the last minute.
Yeah, and when we're doing the good cop, bad cop, and that is critical. It's like, you may want to do the good cop and have your partner go out in the front line and be the bad cop, but you cannot let them fall under the bus. Like, you can't, and again, these manipulative patterns, I'll bet you that, that father doesn't want change. He is very comfortable with how things are. So he's going to use guilt and manipulation and shaming his son to try to keep the status quo. And he's going to lash out at the partner who tries to counter otherwise.
Yeah.
So it's a hard job to hold the line and be like, yeah, Dad, whatever she says is what I say.
Yeah. It's things, using phrases like, do you know what? Yes, I think that Katrina has got a point. I think enough is enough. You know, it's being able to kind of back the other person up.
Yeah.
You know, it's not about doing it in a harsh way. You know, it's about saying, look, we're really, really sympathetic to kind of where you are. However, you know, we have to look at this is 3 years on and nothing's changing. This was never meant to be a permanent solution.
Yeah. That's fantastic words right there. Yeah.
Yeah, what she said.
Yeah, exactly what she said. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
But, you know, I mean, don't get me wrong, these things are hard, right? Like, we get torn between kind of, you know, wanting to do the right thing, wanting to please kind of everybody. We're being drawn into this triangular situation where kind of we're trying to meet everybody's needs at the same time, and probably we're the last person in the scenario that ever gets their needs met because we're too busy trying to pacify everybody else. So these situations are not easy to deal with. But I would say kind of 3 years is quite a long time to be in that situation. And sometimes you have to draw a line and say, do you know what? We've kind of gone too far now.
Yeah.
And as you say, like fast forward 3 years, 6 years, 10 years,
If
he's still sleeping on the couch. Like, how does that make you feel?
that is a very common question. If nothing has changed and it's 5 years from now, and possibly even worse, now he's created his own, I don't know, encampment where he's now taken over 90% of the living room. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're like, well, hell no. Well, it's like, well, then we've got to excavate because it's not going to just naturally go away.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
One of the other things in terms of, you know, a boundary setting thing that comes up, I don't know why I'm thinking about this of late, but if you enter a new relationship, a lot of the time people will come into a relationship with baggage of ongoing contact with exes. And it's like, oh, it's a temporary thing. They're just going through some tough times. We're just friends, etc. But, you know, you can sort of fast forward 5 years and your partner is having like regular deep heart-to-hearts with exes. And you're like, that is interrupting in our, you know, which makes me think sometimes when partners are like, that's not cool. Sometimes we try to defend, well, no, but it's okay. You know, in this case, it's my dad. He's on hard times. Or, well, it's my ex and we're just friends. And, you know, we like to talk about this, that, or she's going through hard times. At the end of the day, when your partner brings up, this, I'm not comfortable with this. And, you know, they're trying to point out, you've got a boundary violation. One of your boundaries is being violated. You're not standing up for yourself. And we try to stay in denial and defend because it's hard to set up boundaries. And sometimes our partner, if it's a healthy relationship, can be the truth teller to point us out where we have unhealthy patterns. And
Yeah, I think what I'd say in that though, because when it comes to boundaries, right, we have to develop our own boundaries. We have to create boundaries that are right for us. And that scenario with the kind of the ex and the relationship, like what your view of the relationship and how it should be and what's acceptable to you may be different to your new partner. And you have to both be able to kind of say what your boundaries are in that situation. And if they're different, which can often be the case, it's about saying, okay, how can we work together then to find a level that we're both comfortable with?
Okay.
Because one partner, and this very thing came up with a client before Christmas. You know, one partner may be kind of like, and this wasn't the client experience, obviously, because I won't share that, but one partner, as an example, the new one might say you are not allowed to have any contact with that person whatsoever at all. But the person that's just come out of a relationship or whatever might say, well, actually, no, that's not possible because, you know, they're the father to my children, or actually I think of them like a sister. They're kind of part of my family. We've been together for that long. Like, I don't want to completely sever all ties with the relationship. So then you've got two very, very different of opinions about what boundaries are acceptable in that situation.
True, but to the second person, I would say be on to yourself, because you may be holding on to something out of guilt or out of unresolved feelings that to really move on in your life, you need to let go. Just saying.
Possibly not.
Yeah. Possibly not. Yeah.
Coach Deathmatch.
Coach Deathmatch. I think, you know, and the reason why I bring this up is because as I think about it, like, I'm moving from my second relationship, probably the most complicated of them. And, there's part of you that is terrified of change and wants to keep bringing things forward into your future from your past.
Yeah.
And I can bullshit myself really well. And I have to look at myself and say, what do you need to let go of to actually move forward? Because I could give myself rationalizations till Sunday and beyond of like why this, that, and the other. And I agree with that, right? A long second relationship, right? Oh, well, just saying. Boundaries, but then also be onto yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a complex, right? So it is, but I think it comes down to knowing yourself and being true to yourself and not letting others kind of sway you too much from that.
Yeah. True.
And you may or may not be making the right choice about that, but it's still your choice, not somebody else's.
True.
Because I think that's where you get resentment, that kind of creeps into a relationship, is where actually that wasn't even my decision. You made me do that. And I wasn't comfortable with that.
True.
Sometimes we have to come to the realizations ourselves.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, true.
In fact, most of the time we need to.
Yeah.
So anyway, I feel like we've digressed from the question, but it's always fun.
It's always fun. And you're right, we came very close to a death match. We do need to have another death match soon.
We do.
Yeah, absolutely. 'Tis the season, first death match of the new year. It's just too cold though, Sarah. I feel like I'd have to take my gloves. I'd have to come out of my blanket. How about we schedule a death match for like May 30th? How's that?
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Let's do it.
Find something to argue about.
Feisty back then, yeah, for sure. Oh, something will come up. It always does.
Oh, well, yeah, I feel for the listener, and it's not an easy one to tackle.
Oh, yeah.
Start small. Start with some small kind of, implement some small, short,
steady,
easy to do boundaries, and then progress from there.
You've got it.
But stick together, team up, be friends, be on the same side. Don't let this be the thing that kind of drives a wedge between you.
And remember, just like children, right? Manipulative children, they are going to look for the chink in the armor, right? So this father is going to depend on and look for lack of cohesiveness.
Yeah.
He'll work you because nobody likes change, right? He doesn't want to change. He's comfortable with the way things are. So you have to be so locked up with each other because a boundary violation is going to look for weakness in your teamwork so that it can continue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Good luck.
Okay. Yes.
And when in doubt, just sell the house. I'm joking. Sorry, Dad, we sold the house.
Well, as long as you sell the house together and just...
that's the thing, right? You could...
No forwarding address, Dad.
No, exactly. Movers are coming, this day, and you'll either be on the couch or going with the couch.
Oh, I'm sorry. I would have told you, but we had that conversation before 3 p.m. in the afternoon.
Oh, it's so true. Family meetings are at noon, so you missed it.
Yeah, you missed it.
Oh, man. That's hilarious. I wish, but you can never do that, guys. You actually have to do the hard work.
Be funny, though.
Oh, it would be funny. Oh, totally.
Oh, so you're going to go and dance with the delights of Athens?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, actually, yes, indeed. So I keep my late schedule. So I'm usually kind of coaching till like 11 at midnight. Hopefully, the good thing is there's still something always open in Athens late at night because these people are like notoriously like late partiers. I go to a restaurant and there's the whole family's eating at like 1 a.m. It's so great.
Yeah. A different world, isn't it?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm tucked up in my bed by 10 o'clock.
Right? Oh my gosh. These people.
It's like, right, where in fact, it's almost time for my pajamas, Anna.
Yes, indeed it is. Oh. Well, stay warm. The sun will come out tomorrow.
And you. Yeah, and enjoy your trip.
Thank you.
I should say extended trip. You're only in week 2.
I am. I know. It's crazy. Time is both flying and not flying.
Tiny bit jealous.
Oh. Oh, man.
Yes,
good times.
enjoy, and we look forward to hearing more about it next week.
Indeed.
Alrighty.
All right.
Till next time. So that's it for another week of Geordie Lass and Doc Sass. We hope you've enjoyed listening as much as we've enjoyed chatting. Get in touch and share your questions for relationship remedies and any hot topics you want us to cover. If you need help navigating all things relationships, Anna and Sarah are available for one-on-one coaching support. Email info@geordielass.com. Please remember to like, share, subscribe if you've enjoyed listening. And if you've not, how on earth have you made it this far? I promise we'll try harder next time.